I had an appointment with my sleep doctor this week, at which it became really apparent really quickly that I'm not going to be able to go through official channels to get a replacement for my recalled Philips DreamStation machine. The DMEs are reserving all machines that they can get their hands on for new patients. She said probably for the next year. So she told me to do what I could. Now, any of you guys who watched last week's video will know I got scammed trying to do what I could. I got ripped off trying to buy a supposedly never used ResMed AirSense 10. And I was a little gun shy to try again. But I followed all of the rules that I set out in that video. And I found a pretty good deal on a reasonably lately used machine that was sold at a medical auction. And it arrived today. I don't know the provenance of this machine, so I'm going to do my best to restore it and refurbish it. I thought you guys might want to watch. But first, some CYA legal language disclaimer kind of crap. And then we're going to dig into this. So, come on. And here it is. This is what all the fuss has been about. This is the machine that is finally going to allow me to get some decent sleep. Assuming, of course, it works. So the first thing I'm going to do is power it up and listen for any weird motor noises that might point to a larger problem. So I'm going to connect power to it and give it a try. That's certainly a good sign. God, it's practically silent. With the hose covered, I can't even hear it. So the motor's in good shape, not making any noise. So now the only thing to do is, well, the first thing I'm going to do is confirm that it has low hours. The seller is a wonderful woman named Ariana, who really put up with a lot of crap from me in pestering her to do my best to learn as much about this machine as I could. I certainly didn't want to buy a machine with, 10, 15,000 hours on it. But I walked her through the process of how to find the run hours, and she told me 1,337. And that's exactly what it's got. This is great. Everything's looking great so far. So I'm going to start taking it apart. So you may be asking right now, Dennis, what exactly does it mean to refurbish a CPAP machine? Well, that's a good question. I haven't been able to find any official answer. So what I'm going to do is just check everything out, make sure it's in good working order. There are a few things about these machines that can go bad. The button can have problems that are pretty easily fixed. I'm going to give everything a thorough cleaning. I've already checked the motor. It seems to be in good working order. I'm going to make sure it doesn't stink. Well, and the best way to do that is just to stick your nose right in here. It doesn't have any odor at all, but I'm still going to give it a good cleaning. As best I can tell, this machine was used in the hospital, and it was sold because someone broke the filter door when they were replacing the filter. And you're asking yourself, why didn't they just replace the door? Well, I found out. That's more complicated than it sounds. This is a replacement door. It was harder to get my hands on this than it was to get my hands on this. I placed orders with 4 different retailers and had those orders canceled. I was told, yeah, we simply can't get them in stock. But I finally got one from CPAP.com. That's not an endorsement, by the way. It's just that's where I managed to find one, and they shipped it, and it arrived actually before my machine did. So anyway, as best I can tell, there's a wide variety of uses for the word refurbished. Sometimes refurbished means they just turn it on and make sure it works and replace all the replaceable bits, the hose, the power cord, the filters. Sometimes they run ozone through it, and I'm going to check to make sure this machine hasn't been exposed to ozone. I'll show you how in a bit. Sometimes they take it apart, disinfect it, replace any broken parts. I'm going to be checking all of that out. Like I said, I'm going to check and make sure this button is in good working order. But other than that, my biggest priority is simply to give it a good, thorough cleaning. One thing I already like about the ResMed AirSense 10 is that literally every screw in this machine is identical. And every one of them uses a Torx T10 screw. So it's really simplifies the process because you don't have to remember which screw goes where. It doesn't matter. Any screw in this machine can be replaced with any other. But before I can get to all of the others, we've got to crack the case on this puppy. I'm gonna get a happy little bowl to keep all of my screws in. There you go. So these screws are for the humidifier heater. And I don't really need to get into there, so I'm not going to worry about those. Took off these two. I'm going to take off these two. And that should give me access to them guts. First things first, I need to get this outer shell off. And that shouldn't be too difficult. Point. I'm going to just take this off, and it comes right off. This is one of the pieces I'm going to wash. Don't know that that's necessary. I'm going to do it anyway. So these are the brains of the AirSense 10 AutoSet. I need to get them out of the way before I can get to the stuff that I really need to clean. And that doesn't look to be too difficult. This cable, I've discovered, connects to the humidifier. It disconnects pretty easily. Also going to take this cable off, but probably want to take the side panel off. You know what, let's go ahead and do that. Slide this gently. And then just loop that connector out. This piece I'm not going to wash. It's where the modem is housed. Moment of truth. I'm going to lift this assembly out. Disconnect the power to the motor. Move that out of the way. Here's where the magic happens. This is the pump housing. These parts are all going to get a really good deep clean in vinegar and hot water, followed by Dawn dish soap. And then I'm going to put them in my hurricane dryer. For the time being, I'm going to take the sensitive bits and move them somewhere else so I don't mess them up. So just like everything else about the AirSense 10, the motor housing uses the same exact screws. So again, whether they're exterior screws or interior screws, I don't even have to keep track of which is which. I can stick any screw anywhere. I really like that. 3 screws total. And here we go. Very, very happy to see this. This says to me that this machine has never been exposed to ozone. So Nick at CPAP Review recently did a video where he took the foam from a bunch of different CPAPs and exposed them to ozone. And this little bit of foam right here didn't degrade like the DreamStation foam does. It maintained its structural integrity and its function. It did discolor a little bit. No discoloration, probably no ozone. Immediately, here's the thing that I really, really like about this machine as opposed to the DreamStation. If you will notice, this piece right here goes here, right? So air comes in here, passes through a filter, goes into here, through this tube, down into here. That air is then pulled through these holes, comes around here, and is sucked into the motor. Except for the interior of this motor, I can literally touch every surface on this machine that air is going to pass through, which means that I can clean it, which means that I can inspect it and disinfect it, which means that if for whatever reason it turns out this piece of foam is carcinogenic, which there's no reason to believe it is. Foam is not inherently bad. Polyester polyurethane foam is bad. But this is fine. If for whatever reason though it turns out it's not, I just pull this out of here. The machine should still work. And I don't have to do this sort of major surgery that people are doing right now on their DreamStations. So, I'll take this bit of rubber out. And this is going to get the vinegar treatment. You may be wondering why I'm taking this piece out. The truth of the matter is, it's because I don't know what it is. I don't know what material this is. So I'm going to take the safe approach. Any of the hard plastic bits, they're going in vinegar. They're going to soak for about a half an hour. Any of the rubber bits are going to go into the mix again, and I'm going to wash everything again with Dawn dish detergent. And then I'm going to dry it all out. So let's begin taking this apart. This piece in the vinegar. Got these little tabs here. The cords seem to go between the spot with the two tabs and the one just clockwise of it. I'll remember that. And I just need to push these pieces down so I can pull this apart. That's going to be a really nice reminder. That's where the two tabs go. Now, I've been told by people who are far more learned than I that if your AirSense 10 stinks because it came from a smoker's home or what have you, all of that stink is probably going to reside in this piece. I'm going to wait and put that in with the Dawn dish detergent. I'm going to use a little alcohol to clean this just in case. A little air through the turbine there. Any little bits that have got sucked into it will get dislodged, but you guys heard this. This machine is silent. I'm not really worried about the turbine. Right now, I'm just worried about cleaning all my bits. So let's work on that. Now, if you've watched my video about my weekly cleaning process, you're already familiar with this red basin. If not, you can go watch that. This is what I'm going to use to do my vinegar soak, and also my Dawn dish detergent soak. So for the time being, I'm going to get my water hot. I'm going to go ahead and put in a pretty liberal amount of vinegar here. In technical terms, I believe that's known as some. And fill it the rest of the way with water. And I'm going to let that soak for about half an hour. So I've drained the basin of the vinegar water, and everything stinks to be damned. But now I'm going to add the soft bits, the bits that I did not feel 1000% safe exposing to acid. I'm just going to drop those in, especially this guy. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it inside out. I'm going to use more Dawn dish soap than anyone should. And again with the hot water. So I'm doing Dawn dish detergent for two reasons. One, so I can safely, as far as I know, wash the soft bits. Also, it's really hard to get the stink of vinegar off stuff without washing it. So, you know, I would probably have been perfectly safe just doing this step, given that I could not detect any odors whatsoever, and I have a super sensitive sniffer. But, you know, if I'm going to go through all of this trouble, why not do it right? Why not be completely sure? And I'm going to let that sit for another half hour. So everything has been soaked in Dawn and hot water for half an hour. I've cleaned everything really well with a soft bristle toothbrush. I've rinsed everything out, and I'm kind of shocked to discover that everything fit inside my Hurricane CPAP dryer. I may have to fiddle with this a little bit to get the door to close. If you guys haven't seen my cleaning video about my weekly cleaning routine, go check that out for a little more information on the Hurricane CPAP dryer. But yeah, I'm just gonna run this to speed up the process, and then we'll be ready to put everything back together. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna hit this twice to let it run for an hour. And I'm gonna go do some work. So, everything is clean and dry. Doesn't really have any odor. It's time to put things back together. And I'm going to start this. So the wires need to go here. So I'm going to do my best to make sure they go there. This is probably the fiddliest part of the entire process. And there's no real science to it. You just sort of wiggle and shimmy until everything fits. Well, I have to say that looks pretty good. So now, I just do everything I did to begin with, just in reverse order. This next part is a little bit tricky. Basically, I want to get the square thing over that peg and the round thing over that one. And then route these wires through that clip, and I should be good. So one of the things that I particularly want to look at is this contact right here. The one major flaw with the AirSense 10, as far as I can tell, is that occasionally the button just stops working. And a lot of times that's an issue with this contact. You know, a lot of people have made a lot of other people really happy by just fixing that. It looks really good, so I don't think there's anything to do. And otherwise, everything looks to be in good working order. I've already tested it, so I know it works. So yeah, it's time to start putting everything back together. So this little piece right here is going to go on that track. Guys, I can't even begin to tell you how amazing it is that every screw in this piece is identical. Some people know that I work in consumer electronics. I typically review home automation, high-end audio, things like that, and theater gear. I have to tell you, most of that stuff, if there's a problem with it, it takes longer to disassemble it than anything. And once you get it disassembled, there's just no getting it back together. This machine looks to be built to be serviced. Now the problem, of course, is that I can't get parts, you can't get parts. At least what it means is that it can be serviced. Somebody can fix your machine instead of just scrapping it and starting over. I'm real big on right to repair. Granted, not a lot of people can repair this machine, but at least it's just not outright impossible. So one of the things that's really crucial to do is to get these two ports into those plugs. That's how your machine can sense airflow and adjust your pressure if needed. I'm gonna hook the control for the humidifier back up. I'm gonna hook power back up. Power to the motor. I'm gonna go ahead and get this piece into place. Again, you've got this that goes on the same track that the motor housing went on. I don't want to force anything here. Everything should go together pretty easily. And if you're running into interference, there's a good chance you got something that's just not quite assembled correctly. That went back together really easily. So now I'm going to plug the modem control back in so my insurance company can spy on me and make sure I'm compliant. God, I hate that word. And you know what? Hey, if you are refusing to heed my warning and you decide to do this yourself and you are completely rogue in terms of your respiratory therapy and you don't have an insurance company that you have to report compliance to, why bother even hooking the modem back up? At that point, it's probably safe to assume that you're using software like Oscar to monitor and tweak your therapy, and you don't really need the MyAir app, which is, as far as I've seen so far, roughly as useless as Philips' own app, Dream Mapper. So yeah, I mean, if you're not beholden to an insurance company, don't even bother connecting that cable. All it does is give power and data to the modem so the man can spy on you. Everything looks good there. I'll loop that ribbon around that piece. We're going to start by getting the back in place. Bring the cover back over the front. that looks good. Snap that in. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to put back in. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Means that if I screwed anything up, at least it wasn't literally the screws that I screwed up. My plan is, ultimately, when I can, to get a new machine with a warranty that's actually worth the paper it's printed on, and use this little guy as a backup. Anyway, I am super anxious to get everything put together and see if I was successful. Plugging it into power. Whew. Never been so happy to see a screen come on in my life. Connect the hose, lock the port, turn it on. That is whisper quiet. Try and cover the port, of course. But the motor in and of itself is really, really whisper silent. Guys, I'm gonna get peaceful sleep tonight for the first time in over a month. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next week.